And we're off. Welcome to the BudHole Mailbag, everybody. We promised it'd be here, and it's 9 a.m., so it's here. This mailbag is brought to you by Thrive Fantasy, which we played on Thursday night. I made some money on it, so that's always good when you make money. Did you guys happen to make money on Thrive Fantasy on Thursday night or no?
No.
Unfortunately not.
Well, it's just the way that goes sometimes. But make sure when you sign up with Thrive Fantasy to use promo code BUD, and Thrive will actually match any dollar amount you put in up to $250, dollar for dollar. So you get free money to play with, which is good. That's over at www.thrivefantasy.com, promo code BUD, and make sure to prop up. Brandon, what's that?
I think it's a minimum of $20 you have to input.
Yeah, minimum 20. I didn't say that, did I? It's mostly because 250 is a no-brainer. Just do the 250.
Max that bitch out.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to give you free money, you don't want to throw free money away.
Let's just take a second to admire Gage's outfit here this morning. This is beautiful. Game day.
It is beautiful.
Kick off. A few curly shoes pulling up through there.
Yeah, I'll cover it up. I know we're on all the platforms tonight or today, but I'm definitely ready for game day. It's been a long wait, and I am ready for football again.
Fuck yeah. Well, we're going to start out with our mailbag questions. We had a few people write into the emails and text us as well. So we're going to start out today with, how does Yannick Ngakoue help mitigate the loss of Danielle Hunter? We'll start with Gage's rage.
I think that's a huge part of why they went out and got Ngakoue for what they did. I think they knew that the injury to Danielle Hunter was going to be a lot more serious. But I do think it will balance out that teeter-tottering scale. Obviously, I think Danielle Hunter is a little bit more skilled in the pass rush, but I think Ngakoue will be able to pull something off and get after Rodgers a little bit.
For me, I would say I originally thought that they brought in Ngakoue to help pair up with Danielle Hunter, but there was a little rumor going around that with Hunter not practicing, they might have got him to help mitigate the Hunter loss right away. And that's the way that it kind of appears it is. I think Ngakoue today specifically is going to feast. He's fired up. He's excited to be here. I think short term, assuming Hunter is only out 3 weeks, it's going to end up being okay because Ngakoue is hungry to play some football.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we brought him in mostly to pair with him, but also knowing the fact that Hunter's banged up and losing Everson this offseason, we really needed somebody to step in there. They are two different style of players, though. Hunter, he gets a few more sacks than Yannick. He's gotten 12.5 was the highest he got. Otherwise, every other year is under 10. However, he is a forced fumble machine. He's an enforcer. I think 2018 he got 0, but otherwise he had 4 each year, and 6 was his highest in 2017. So I think once Hunter comes back, if he's fully healthy, hopefully he is, it's going to be watch out quarterbacks.
Hells yeah.
Yeah, once they're both in there, it's going to be a different team altogether.
Over under for 3.5 today from Ngakoue, and that includes sacks and fumbles caused.
Under.
I mean, a sack fumble would count as 2?
Yeah.
That's a good line. I'd bet the over.
All right, I like it. BudHole prop bet. Prop up.
All right, moving on. Number 2. What do you think about Dalvin Cook's new contract? So Dalvin Cook signed a new extension yesterday, 5 years, $63 million, which is about 12.5 a year, and 28 guaranteed. For me, I like the deal. I think it's good for the Vikings. He's getting roughly 12 a year. After 2 years, the contract's pretty much over. He's going to owe a little under $4 million is what the Vikings are going to owe him. So if he's not doing what he's supposed to, if he's continuously getting hurt over these next few years, they can cut him, and there's minimum cap penalty to get rid of him.
I like the move as well. I do think the dollar amount is a little bit high. Wish they could have got him for around 10. I think 12.5 is a little steep when you're looking at Ngakoue needing another deal, and some of the other studs we have to re-sign. Harris only being on the 1 year or did Harris?
No, just the 1 year.
Yeah, with the franchise tag.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at some guys we still need, and I don't think running back is the position it used to be back in Adrian Peterson's heyday. But it is pretty cool to lock him down, and he's happy rolling into this season.
I will comment on that I think Kamara got 5 years, $70 million. He got a little bit more. Derrick Henry was 4 years, 64. No, that was C-Mac got 64. Henry got like 52. They're all right in that ballpark. Joe Mixon, Kamara, C-Mac, Henry, and I think there was one more that got Cook. So they're all right in that same 12.5 million, except for C-Mac, who's getting about 16.
Yeah, and they're all pretty low on the guaranteed dollar amounts too. They're all in the 20s somewhere. So Derrick Henry's was 4 for 50 with 25.5 million guaranteed. The difference really of all these contracts is Mixon went more short term to bet on himself so he could get one more big payday, whereas the rest of these guys wanted those 4 or 5 year deals. But speaking to Cook specifically, I think for the Vikings it's a good deal. For Cook, it's a good deal, and when it's a good deal for both sides, it's a good deal. Period. So I like the deal, especially with. Just getting a Cook jersey last year, that helps to know that I'll be able to wear that thing for a few more years.
All right, next question. We have, why was Gabe so upset after trading Thielen in Dynasty League, and why did he take it out on his friends? Thank you, Nick from Montrose. Gage's Rage, you have the floor.
That one doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I was upset right away. I was obviously I'm a hometown guy. I love my Minnesota Vikings. So I do wish on my fantasy team in the Dynasty League I could be rooting for my team a little extra hard. But looking back now, when I was able to acquire a first-round pick and swerving Irvin Smith, I think it's worked out well for both parties. I'm sure you weren't happy with Thielen's performance last year, Brandon, because you're the one who acquired him in the trade. But yeah, last year he didn't have the best season. I got a first-round pick out of the deal, and I still can root for a Viking. So I don't know why I was so upset, to tell you the truth. Maybe I was hungry that morning.
A little hanger took over.
That could have been. I think you had a pretty good deal with it too. You got Irvin Smith, Michael Gallup, who I guess is now the third string in Dallas, and then
he's still a 1,000-yard receiver.
You probably could have made a better pick with your first-round pick, but hey, you know what? You can't win them all.
Funny guys. Well, who was your first-round pick? Oh, Adam Thielen. That's right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Let's see how he does this year. 28-year-old receiver. All right, moving on. We will rank the head coaches in the NFC North from Saul in St. Bonnie. I'll go first. I have it going Zimmer, Nagy, LaFleur, and Patricia. What do you guys have it as?
Gage, you can go next.
If I was just to rank the coaches alone, I would say it'd be Zimmer. I would take Nagy second. I would take Patricia third, and I would take LaFleur fourth.
I like that a lot.
LaFleur with the Packers, I don't know what he's trying to do, if he's trying to mix it up a lot, but I don't think Patricia is that bad of a coach. He comes from the Bill Belichick system. His defense has definitely stepped it up. They were actually not a horrible team last year before Stafford went down. They ran toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs, who ended up winning the Super Bowl. I think Patricia, if their team could stay healthy, could really show what he could do and surprise the North.
When did Patricia take that over?
2 full seasons ago. He's going into his third.
Is that what it is?
Yep, he's going into his third.
Okay.
For me, how I would rank them, I think I would rank them probably Mike, Matt, in that order.
I like it, man. I like it, Scott.
Yeah, it makes sense to put it in that order.
I think just based off experience, Zimmer is the clear-cut number one in this division, right? I mean, Nagy hasn't really done anything to prove himself. He made one good playoff run with the stud defense. LaFleur is going into his second year, and Patricia, I think both of those are fairly interchangeable where they're at. LaFleur has just had more success, but he also has a better roster.
Right.
All right. Next one. What does the BudHole think of players kneeling during the national anthem? Connor from Anoka. Scott, you want to start this out?
Oh, so controversial. For For me personally, I know this is a big time talker for a lot of people, whether they're for it or against it. But I would just say I think the players doing what they want to do is completely understandable. They think they have a platform, and they do have a platform to some extent. So they want to do social justice things. I completely understand all of it. Well, the only thing I would say regarding the NFL and really these leagues in general is they still have to make money. So if they're losing viewership because of this, they are going to at some point have to address it. So like players and coaches alike should understand that you want to do things, that's perfectly fine. We all get it. But to some point, you're going to turn viewers off, and you don't want to do that.
My 2 cents on the bit there is if you were looking to make a change, if you wanted to make a difference, if you wanted to actually do something, I feel like you had the absolute peak of viewership, of people actually wanting to make a change with you and caring about the movement as well. And you got to make something happen when that is your striking chance. Continuing to kneel, I don't know what it's doing.
Well, you got to back it by action.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to see the action. I wish that there would have been action already when Kaepernick started it. I mean, that was the captivity of all of everything, and in the recent events, there's been a little bit more attention to it, but there's still, what's being done?
That's fair. I think I'm on the same page as a lot of people. Sports is supposed to be a spot where everybody comes together. People with differences are able to cheer for the same team or to enjoy special moments like the Minneapolis Miracle or like the Cubs winning the World Series after like 116 years or whatever it was. And all this is it's just dividing people. Like Scott said, it's about making money, but I think more importantly, sports is supposed to unite people together. And that's not what it's doing right now. So I don't know if it's a matter of they need to figure something out on the field, if they keep the players in the state or in the locker rooms when they come out to do the national anthem, whatever it may be. But they got to figure something out. That's for sure.
I'd also like to add, back in the 70s, 80s, these professional players had part-time jobs on the summers or, in the wintertime for baseball players. These guys didn't make enough money to go out and do stuff like they're doing now. So it's just interesting to see, how different society is and how much more politics are involved in sports. I liked when sports was the escape from the rest of the world, when you can just BS with your buddies and shoot the fantasy teams around, not have it all be connected in some big way.
I agree. And now our last mailbag question is the lack of home field fans really considered a home field advantage? Matt from Alexandria. Scott?
I think it's a hell of a question, and it's going to really, the Chiefs and Texans played on Thursday night, and there was fans at the stadium, and at times you could actually hear them, although there was only about 12,000, I think they said. It is going to impact home teams from an aspect of the fans getting you ramped up in the big moments, specifically the defense. But I think there is still a home field advantage to knowing that you're playing at home. You don't have to travel. You're in your stadium. You're in a locker room that's familiar to you. I think there's still some home field advantage, and I don't think it's completely mitigated by not having fans there. So to me, I think it's less so than not that there's a lack of home field advantage. I think you still have quite a home field advantage not having to worry about the travel.
And you're familiar with your stadium. I know the Chiefs did their chants or, the third down calls. I'm sure we're going to hear the Vikings Gallahorn today at some point against the Packers. It's just, you wonder if there's actually an NFL exec sitting there with a sound decibel reader, measuring every second of the game, or if these teams are going to be able to crank it up. I'd like to see him propose maybe after the first few weeks that they are able to go up an extra 10 or 15% for third down plays or, actually make a difference if there is no fans there. Because the Chiefs were able to cause a couple false starts, if I remember right?
There were a handful, yeah.
So it's an interesting game.
I don't think that they can upgrade the the Dust Bowl. I was pretty sure what I heard was it's the same thing played throughout. Now, they could have changed that. That could have been like their initial plan, but from what I understand is it's pretty uniform across the board. But I agree with Scott in the aspect that there's still travel. The other team's still got to come. You know, if the Rams are playing the Giants in New York, they have to travel across the country to get there. It's still going to mess with their sleep schedule a little bit. They still have to get used to the new stadium that they're going to be playing in and, warming up before the game and things like that. It's not their normal routine. However, I do think it affects them in the sense that, like, the Vikings, the Chiefs, the Seahawks, they all have like some of the loudest stadiums in the NFL, and to be able to bring the fans in there and there's no control over how much noise is going to be produced, it can definitely throw a team off on a 3rd and long if they can't get their play call off, maybe force a timeout in a time when they don't want to call it. So I think it does affect it, not completely to the point where it's neutral, but I do think it brings it maybe from like a 7 to a 4 type situation.
Yep.
Agreed.
Now, moving into our fantasy segment, sponsored by Thrive Fantasy, we are going to give you our studs and duds. We're going to give you one stud and one dud from each position besides kicker and defense. So really the only spots that matter. We'll start out with Scott. Give us your quarterbacks.
Perfect. For this week, for me, for studs and duds at quarterback, I'm going to go – my stud of the week is Ben Roethlisberger. He's going against the Giants, ranked 30th in pass defense last year. He's back healthy. The Steelers are ramped up and ready to absolutely blow up on offense. So give me Ben Roethlisberger as my quarterback stud this week. My quarterback dud, Kirk Cousins. I think he's in a very tough matchup against the Packers secondary, and the Vikings are going to lean heavily on the running game, especially getting Dalvin Cook that money bag. Plus, we all know Zimmer likes to run the ball anyways. So give me Kirk Cousins as my dud and Ben Roethlisberger as my stud.
I'll jump in here next. I have Gardner Minshew as my stud of the week.
Hell yeah.
Going up against the Indianapolis Colts. The defense obviously missing Yannick Ngakoue and other pieces over the offseason. I don't expect them to put up much of a fight against, rookie Taylor. New Phillip Rivers, see what he can do there. But I feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game, and look for Minshew to come back in a shootout. My dud of the week is going to be Drew Lock. I don't know if we have the status of Cortland Sutton, but
still questionable, leaning towards out.
Yeah, leaning towards out, and it's a game-time decision Monday night. They got the late game. It's just a lot stacked up against the young quarterback whose best available target may be the tight end Noah Fant. I'm not interested.
All right. For me, my stud of the week is going to be Russell Wilson. He plays the Falcons in a dome. And I looked up his stats last night. He only played in a dome once last year. However, he did produce a fairly good stat line. I think he had like 275 yards, and he only had one passing touchdown. But it didn't really portray a good sample size. Away games and against NFC teams, though, he put up about 22 touchdowns and 2 interceptions over the season. So everything's kind of lining up good for him and going against a team that was ranked 25th in pass defense last year. My dud of the week is Matt Stafford, coming back after a year off of injury, losing his top wide receiver in Kenny Golladay. DeAndre Swift is banged up. I don't know what the status of Kerryon Johnson is, but he's going to be relying on Hawkinson and Marvin Jones against a pretty good pass defense. So I think you want to shy away from Matt Stafford. Running backs. Start out with Gage's Rage.
For running back this week, sorry. Chris Carson from Seattle, running up against the
Falcons.
The Falcons, yeah. The Falcons have got a pretty weak defense. I think Carson's just going to run and run and run. My dud of the week is going to be Aaron Jones going against the Vikings. I think he capitalized last year on a lot of short yardage situations. And I think he did have about 26 or 27 points on average against the Vikes last year. But I do remember quite a few touchdowns being scored where I see the new rookie, A.J. Dillon, coming in there and maybe vulturing many of those.
For me, give me my stud of the week, the guy that just got paid, Dalvin Cook. He's going to absolutely feast against Green Bay today. He eats Green Bay for breakfast anyways. He's extra excited with his new money. Dalvin Cook, I have him at 160 all-purpose yards with 2 scores. I think he goes off against Green Bay, which, like I said, what else is new? Green Bay like to just let Cook run wild. An honorable mention, though, I would give you at running back is Boston Scott. He should be on the waiver wire in a lot of your leagues. With Miles Sanders being out, I think Boston Scott's on the line to have a pretty good week as well. For my dud, I'm going to go Mark Ingram. And I'm not going Mark Ingram because I don't think Baltimore is going to move the ball. I do think they're going to move the ball, but I think he has a chance of getting vultured by Dobbins, Jackson, too many mouths to feed. I think Ingram this week could come up short.
For me, my stud of the week is going to be rookie Jonathan Taylor. We saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire run the ball and run effectively against the Texans on Thursday night. And now Taylor, who is a pure runner, is going to be going against the Jaguars, who, like Gage mentioned, lost Yannick. They traded him. Calais Campbell got traded in the offseason. And their defense, they got Clavon Chase on now. They picked up another cornerback, but I don't think that's going to do anything to stop this run game. I feel like the Colts are going to get up early, and they're going to pound the rock. On the contrary, my dud of the week is going to be another rookie, Cam Akers, a player playing in a committee backfield with 2 other running backs. I believe it's Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown, and it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Vegas projection has it the second highest out of the week, which was only behind the Chiefs and the Texans. It's at like 49.5, 50, something like that. High-scoring games normally aren't great for running backs, especially those who are splitting carries. Moving on, we'll go to wide receivers. I'll start this one. I'm going to go with Jamison Crowder. He's going against the Buffalo Bills. He is kind of primed to take over their number 1 spot there. I think last year he had 125 targets, and 25 of them came against the Bills alone last year, which was about 20% of his shares. They lost Robbie Anderson in free agency this year, and Denzel Mims is banged up this week. I think he's primed to get a lot of targets, especially if they're going to be playing from behind. My dud of the week, Amari Cooper. Now, his status right now, I think, is a little questionable. He might be out. Even if he does play, he's going to be going against Jalen Ramsey, who just signed a big contract and vowed to do what no other player has done, and that's to shut down Amari Cooper. Well, besides Stephon Gilmore. So I think you want to shy away from Amari Cooper, especially with CeeDee Lamb, Blake Jarwin, Ezekiel Elliott, and I guess the 4th string, Michael Gallup.
I'll jump in here next, boys. I have my stud of the week at wide receiver being DJ Chark to pair with Gardner Minshew. Chark is going to be an absolute machine in the garbage time, and look for him to score at least a 60-yard touchdown. He has got the blazing 4.4 speed. He's going to do some big things this year. My dud of the week, I'm going to go a little bit out on a limb here. The Cardinals going up against the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to pick DeAndre Hopkins. Now, he's going into a new system. They have some established wide receivers there already with Fitzy and Christian Kirk. They got the running game with Kenyon Drake. It just all adds up to a bad situation for DeAndre Hopkins going up against Richard Sherman, who can still ball, and a pass rush that can get after the quarterback. That's where I'll leave it.
For me, my stud of the week is going to be Marvin Jones. I think with Galladay out this week, Stafford and Jones have a good repertoire between each other. Stafford hasn't really had a chance to build up that chemistry with Hawkinson yet, so he's going to lean heavily on Jones. And a game that I think could actually beat the over-under. I think the Lions and Bears might get over that over-under. Trubisky usually plays good against the Lions. Stafford usually plays good against the Bears. I think Marvin Jones is going to be the main recipient of a pretty decent game out of Stafford. An honorable mention, though, for me would be Juju, because if you want to match Roethlisberger with a wide receiver that he likes to go to, Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, is on for a pretty good game. I think they play tonight. My dud is I'm kind of piggybacking off of Brandon here, but I'm going with Amari Cooper as well. I think Amari Cooper, just based on mouths to feed in Dallas, with Blake Jarwin having a lot of steam, CeeDee Lamb, a lot of people like him. I think Michael Gallup's in line for a pretty decent game today. Amari Cooper, I think with that hamstring injury, is a guy to really keep an eye on, especially being you'd probably drafted him in the second or third round of a fantasy draft. So be careful with Amari Cooper today. Don't let him sink your chances of a W in week 1.
And if you want, you can just roll right into tight ends.
Perfect. My tight end stud of the week is Hayden Hurst. I think he's going to absolutely feast against Seattle, who last year ranked 29th against tight ends in the NFL and gave up the second most touchdowns, I think it was, to tight ends. Hayden Hurst is a little bit of an underlooked tight end, especially because he was traded this offseason after being kind of overlooked in Baltimore, but he goes to Atlanta where they like tight ends, and Hayden Hurst is a fully functional tight end, first-round draft pick. I look for Hayden Hurst to have a big, big day. He's probably on waiver wires, too, in your league. My dud of the week is a big name and an offense that's a brand-new offense against a good defense, Rob Gronkowski. Be careful of Gronk today. I think O.J. Howard actually has a chance of having a better day if they even go to tight ends. So watch out for Rob Gronkowski.
I'll jump in here. I'm going to take my stud of the week being Hunter Henry with the Los Angeles Chargers going up against a bad Bengals team. I don't think I have to say much more than that. The Bengals, they're going to be trying their best, but I don't think they're going to win too many games. My dud of the week, again, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to take a pretty prominent veteran in Zach Ertz with the Eagles going up against the Washington football team. Yes, thank you. Sorry, it's not because I don't think Ertz will do well against the Washington football team or the tight end position. I just think Dallas Goedert is going to jump up here and steal the ball a little bit more.
That's possible.
If you listen to the podcast, Gage is hardcore on this Goddard train, and I kind of like it. He's got good sound logic with it. At some point, Goddard's got to overtake Ertz. Why not be this year?
Exactly.
He's at least staying true to his guns there. He's not wavering. For me, I'm going to take Blake Jarwin, tight end for the Cowboys. Last year finished tight end 25, and Witten finished tight end 12, with Witten leaving and Jarwin taking over the majority of the snaps at that position. I think he's going to see an enormous uptick this year. Not to mention, again, like I said, the Cowboys-Rams game is the second highest over-under this week. So expect a lot of scoring and a lot of targets to go his way. My dud of the week is going to be, and I hate to say it because he's on my dynasty team, Austin Hooper. Hooper's coming into a new team that didn't really light it up last year. He's going against the Ravens, who last year were fairly decent against tight ends. Not to mention that he's going to have to split targets with OBJ, Jarvis Landry, and Kareem Hunt. I don't see him, and Njoku, if he's out on the field. I really don't see him producing as much as you'd like to see him in week 1, so I would shy away from him.
With that being said, I think that wraps up the mailbag for this week. We'll be back at you next week at 9 a.m., leading you up to week 2 NFL games. But before that, make sure to check us out this week on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. Search the BudHole. Make sure to subscribe. We drop episodes 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And make sure that if you're sitting on the couch today trying to make some money and watch football, go to thrivefantasy.com and we will, over at Thrive Fantasy, if you use promo code BUD, they'll match your first deposit, minimum $20, maximum $250, dollar for dollar over at Thrive Fantasy. It's super fun, awesome prop bets. Go check it out. And other than that, thanks for checking out the podcast and thanks for submitting the questions, everybody.
Spread BudHole.
Spread BudHole.
Bye-bye.